Hey everyone, it's me Jessie, and this is my channel JessPeachee. Thanks for tuning in. And today I wanted to talk about the books I read in January, February, March, April. The books I read in April. So during the month of April, I was participating in the Owls, which is a first part out of a two-part annual readathon hosted here on YouTube, and I made an announcement video a few videos ago saying the books I would like to read for that Owls readathon, as the career I had picked was graphic designer, and that required me to read 4 books following 4 separate prompts. I'm gonna say right now that I bombed those challenges. I only read 2 out of the 4 books I was meaning to read. And yeah, so let's talk about the ones I did read. So the first book I read was for Ancient Runes, and that was to read, it is 1 a.m. Excuse me for being a little low energy, but that's good. We're working through it. We're trying to get energized to knock this out. But yes, the first book I was meaning to read was the one that would count towards my Ancient Runes requirement, which is to read a book with either a heart on the cover or a heart in the title. And that book I succeeded in reading was Kingdom Hearts 2 Volume 2. I thoroughly enjoyed this, not as much as the first one just because my favorite character was not in this, but it was still good to see the different characters, more of their emotions, because there's only so many emotion that can be conveyed with a 3D model, especially in the games that were, I think, released at least 10 years ago, if not longer. But yes, I did enjoy this. And see, Roxas is still in there for a period of time. My boy, Roxas. But the majority of the point afterwards is Sora, Donald, and Goofy. I highly recommend this. I am looking for Kingdom Hearts 2 Volume 3 soon, so I can continue on. But I'm just keeping my eye out in the used bookstores and Goodwills, because that's where I found the first 2. There's also 2 characters that are featured both in the manga and in the Kingdom Hearts games. We have a character named Diz, who, from Roxas's point of view, is kind of a creeper, and honestly, the manga just intensified that. Like, he looked scary. He looked like, I don't know, some evil guy from Soul Eater or something. Just the way that he was drawn and the way that, like, the artist kind of created shadows around his eyes, gave him a weird smile. He really did seem like a very scary dude that you didn't want to cross, and you didn't want to be in Roxas's shoes. I thought that was very bizarre considering I know where his character story goes in the game, but that was weird. Also, the good guy wizard unsaid that Sora later meets in the game, he's also portrayed very disturbingly in the manga, even though, like, he's a good person. He's a good person in the manga. It's just the way he's drawn, the way shadows are cast across his face, sometimes the way he spooks Donald, Goofy, and Sora. I thought it was really bizarre, but they did not take away my enjoyment from the book, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. The next book I managed to read was to fulfill my History of Magic course requirement. I lost my train of thought. Hold on. The next book I read to fulfill my History of Magic requirement or challenge was a book that featured witches or wizards in it. And there was some debate in the TBR announcement video of what I would read. Either an ebook or a book I had on hand. I went with the book I had on hand, and that was Lamp Black and Wolf Grey by Paula Braxton. I really enjoyed this. This was my first experience in tabbing up a book, though I only have 5 tabs in here, 2 of which were scenes I loved, 2 of which were information, probably like appearances. I like to hold on to characters' appearances because I'm a very visual person, and someday I'd like to draw fan art for the books that I read. But yeah, the blue tabs were my character descriptions, the pink tabs were my scenes that I loved, and then the red an orange tab was like a red tab, and that was a scene that disturbed me, or when a character disturbed me, that's when I liked it. I enjoyed the two perspectives and how they kind of both intertwined with Merlin as a character. I hate that I was fooled into thinking this character in modern day was Merlin, where in actuality he wasn't. That's depressing, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. I also enjoyed Laura's happy ending at the end, though it's surprising, but yeah, definitely recommend it. The writing style was very flowery, I've heard people say purple. I don't know what that means, but I love Paula's writing, and I hope to continue her stories even though they don't feature Merlin, but that's okay. They're just beautiful written stories, just on top of my long want to read list, as this was the last book of hers that I own and haven't read, so now I can say that's one I read. I've only read 2 of her books, but both of them I enjoyed. And then the one challenge I started reading for prompt was for the prompt Charms Lumos Maxima, read a book with a white cover. And for that I had chosen to read, even though now I'm regretting that decision, A World Without You by Beth Revis. This was a contemporary book that I misunderstood and misinterpreted to be a science fiction book, and that became all the more apparent when I was reading it. I got about 54% done. I'll say 50, that's a little extreme. 50% done, and I just had to call it quits. I turned a few pages in, turned to the back, saw the resolution, and I was done. This was, had to say, this is honestly a book that I have had for a long time, and I'm disappointed that I had to DNF it, but yeah, it was so bad. I didn't enjoy it. I thought reading it on my own would be fine. That was kind of chugging along and listening to the audiobook. I don't know if it was the way the character is written or the narrator, but the main character seemed very angry all the time, and you get why he's angry. You get it because his best friend is dead. The girl he liked is dead. Not best friend. The girl he loved was dead. So you know where his anger is coming from. I just did not have the mental capacity to deal with that angst and that bitterness in this book, and the narrator really laid it on heavy with that. I don't know if that's what their voice director told them to do, but it was not an enjoyable read. And that actually really ruined the rest of my experience with the rest of April. I, after that point, kind of didn't really feel like continuing on with the challenges. I picked up Foxfire by Karen Kinsey for like half an hour and I put it down. One day I'll get back to it, but I may have to read Other again, and I may have to read Bloodborne first before reading Foxfire. But I do plan on reading that. And yeah, those are the 4 books that I had planned on reading in April, but I only got to read 2 of them. Thankfully the 2 of them I enjoyed, but the other 2 I did not finish and I did not hardly start. But thankfully, before the end of April, I had started on this marvelous book, and it was beautiful, and I finished it in May, and I will talk about that later in another video. But for now, I hope you all have a lovely morning, a lovely evening, or a lovely afternoon, wherever you're watching this, and I'll see you later. Bye!